is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, reporting tonight from Washington.
Good evening from the campus of Catholic University of America. Behind me, the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, where Pope Francis will celebrate Mass tomorrow.
Let's check in with Mark Seagraves now, who is outside of the Brookland Metro Station. And this is a huge meeting point, because of the Mass that is happening at the Basilica on Catholic University's grounds later this afternoon. Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I am. And, you know, that Mass doesn't begin for several hours, but look at the lines. And you can see this is just one of the lines. It wraps around an entire city block 1.5 times and goes up to Michigan Avenue, and that's where the checkpoints are.
Behind us, the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, where earlier the Pope celebrated a very special Mass in front of an estimated 23,000 people.
It was a day that I won't ever forget. Sunny, and the sky was blue in the way it only is in September. You know, the air dries out, and so you can see much farther. Everything appears in sharp relief, and people were walking around campus like it was.
I felt like it was a circus, like a carnival. I felt like I was at the fair.
Thanks. Oh yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.
For like a rock concert, you know, people are just cheering and screaming. They were just thrilled, and people wanted to pass their babies up in the rows, and it was, I guess, overwhelming in a really exciting way.
Yeah. And when he came into the Basilica, all the seminarians were standing up on the pews and like trying to just reach for him, and I was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, Monsignor Rossi's not going to be happy about this, but it was all game when the Pope's in town.
The atmosphere was electric up until the time that the Mass began, and then the most remarkable thing was that you could have heard a pin drop. There were 30,000 people assembled on the lawn in front of McMahon Hall, and it was as though you were alone in the library reading a book.
Not far from here, in 1634, the first Catholics arrived in what is now the United States and began the evangelization effort that we see so wonderfully realized today at this great basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception and the campus of the Catholic University of America.
I think what it did was really brought us to the attention of, I think, many people.
We are at Catholic University, and Pope Francis is now in the United States.
You get a sense that you're about to witness some form of history.
He will then greet the public in the Popomobile along the National Mall, where he will end up here for the canonization of the first Latino American saint.
I know a lot of politicians were there, various dignitaries and so on. It's just nice to see everybody come together, all for the same purpose of worship. Not many people know that we are the National University of the Catholic Church, and so it's good for people to know that. Still fewer people, I think, realize that one of the things that meant is that whenever popes come to the United States, whether it was Pope Francis this time, or Pope Benedict in 2008, or St. John Paul II in 79, the one place that every pope has been to is Catholic University of America. No other university has that distinction in the United States.
The Pope's visit, more than any other papal visit, I think, raised the profile of Catholic University to the national level. This is the university which should represent the best interests of the Catholic Church in America, and it does. But on September 23rd, the whole world knew it. The whole world knew who we were, and they were impressed.
That it was the message that we, all the Catholics, wanted to give our Holy Father coming to Washington, to make him feel comfortable, but at the same time, the opportunity to see him and to have that great honor to have him at the most important university in the world for us, the Catholic University of America.
Our goal for our students and our staff and faculty was to recognize and understand that Pope Francis's visit was not just this historical moment, but that it was going to have an impact in their faith.
We prepared in advance for the visit. We had an event, or a series of events, called Walk with Francis. I think there were 600 of our students who went out and worked in the community. I helped to tend the Franciscans' garden up the street with the men's lacrosse team, but others worked with the Little Sisters of the Poor or at So Others Might Eat or around town. And this wasn't just a one-off event. You know, we were trying to encourage the students to make this part of their weekly practice.
That was the biggest fall service day that we've ever had at the university. And again, I think it was really focused on Pope Francis and his call to serve the poor. And I think he's illustrated for us visually and through his words and through his example of what it means for us to be in relationship with the most vulnerable in our community. So we wanted our students to not only hear that, knowing that he would probably address that in his visit to the United States, but to actually have that experience in that relationship with the poor. And so that service day was really important for us.
We wanted to prepare them spiritually, so we made sure that they had the opportunity to pray in Spanish. We didn't just want our students to hand them a card and say, okay, here are the responses. We wanted them to pray with our Holy Father while he was here.
To see something on our students' faces that I sometimes see, but didn't quite see so brilliantly as I saw on this papal visit. Something like pride and joy at being at a papal university, a university which stands out in the country for the Catholic faith and for our service to the world. And to see them light up at the presence of people like Anderson Cooper and Lester Holt, and to see the university on national television, and to see that their university was the focus of the whole world. It was a great joy. They were on cloud nine.
Now, when you go off of campus, everybody knows who Catholic University is. And when you tell them, they're like, oh, the Pope went there. And you're like, yep, the Pope came here.
On the day of the Papal Mass, I was standing right here when the Papal motorcade passed by, and it was honestly the most overwhelming experience of the entire day. I cried because I couldn't believe that it was actually happening. I couldn't believe that the Pope was actually on our campus.
Well, as a professor here at the law school, for me the unique thing is to see particularly a lot of our students are not Roman Catholic. Indeed, many of our students have no religious affiliation whatsoever. So the thing that struck me most was that the excitement about when Pope Francis came certainly germinated throughout the entire student population. It wasn't just among Roman Catholics.
Well, I think His Holiness's popularity is something from which we're going to benefit greatly as well. The university was important to him, and it's now important to the people who are following him. But I was most pleased for the students who are here now. It was a historic event, and they all shared it together. And decades from now, when they continue to gather, they're going to remember being part of history. And that's just going to make their ties back to the university continue to grow as the years go by.
I had outreach from a number of alumni. In fact, months before, I had requests for tickets when no one knew exactly what was going to happen with the tickets. And I certainly sent out the links for the drawing that occurred for tickets after that. The level of interest in this was much higher than I've seen in almost anything else that we've done. In fact, anything else that has gone on here at the university that the alumni is involved in.
I think it's important for people to remember that the Francis effect didn't start before the papal visit, but rather it started with the papal visit. And this is just the beginning of the effect of his visit. And we need to remember to authentically be a witness to Pope Francis and our church from now on. It's not something that ended when he left on September 23rd.
To know that our Holy Father was here, that he walked through these doors, and we can be united again with him in prayer and in petition to God, really, for us as church to grow in mercy and to be that voice of mercy for the world.
I hope the university accepts the challenge of Francis to be opening and warm, to be welcoming to people who in turn want to come here of all different faiths, different perspectives. I'm hoping that it is not simply an opportunity for us to look back on a star that went through the sky, but rather that there's a light that stays on to say to people who are lost, come home.
Certainly a faith-building day for a lot of people in this city today. That's going to do it for us on this Wednesday night. I'm Lester Holt for all of us at NBC News. Thank you for watching, and good night.